20 years this May. So in May 2004, I opened a new residential lettings office in Bognor. Yeah, and been here ever since.
Well, I'm a newbie, and then I've only been here since 2018, so quite a new boy. Well, I've been in the construction industry since I was 16 as a plumber, and then worked my way through contract management. Then went into social housing as a social housing provider. Then come into the private industry about 10 years ago, doing various contract management roles, and then property management, fell into property management, as I think everyone does.
I do. I did exactly the same. So I started out as a dental nurse, and as a child I used to have to be sedated to go to the dentist. So it's the most peculiar role for me to start with. But I did faint at my first assisting with a root canal filling, and at that point decided, yeah, dental nursing wasn't for me. A friend of mine owned a local estate agency, needed a secretary in the back office, and the rest, as they say, is history. I've done quite a few roles since I started in the property industry. I wouldn't say there was a spark for business development, more progression through different roles.
I've been sort of operations for many years, dealing with emergencies. So I was a response repairs manager for house associations. Then we branched into health and safety management, and this sort of combines quite a lot of the roles. So health and safety, operations, and it's just a natural progression to run the operations of PS&B, really. I suppose it's not really the challenger moments. COVID was one of our biggest challenges, where one day we was all working at work and thought about what's going to happen, and then bang, the next week it was all working from home, trying to get all the computers and the staff rigged up so they could all work from home. And I think that for me, most challenging times at PS&B, really.
And then bringing them all back to work.
Yeah,
making sure that everybody was safe and
absolutely,
well looked
after.
Because
I think that's more of the challenge now, is trying to adapt to the current situations, what we've got, where we've got hybrid working, people that want to come in, people that couldn't come in, and it's quite a difficult situation. But yeah, that's the most challenging.
In addition to that, I would say, not challenging exactly, but is the because we deal with so many different types of property business within the group, is the legislation for all of those different types of business always changing. We're always having to make sure that everybody's properly trained, everybody knows exactly how they should be dealing with different things, to make sure that we're compliant and we're providing the best service for our clients. Not exactly a challenge, but we do have to work very hard to make sure that we keep up with that.
I think I'd like to answer that on behalf of Karen. So most rewarding part for Karen is working with me, really.
Is there another question that says, what is the most difficult part of your working day? That would be working with Michael.
Thank you.
I think rewarding is seeing our staff flourish, because we have quite a good training program in place with apprenticeships and different qualifications, and it's something that we've really focused on in the last couple of years.
Yeah, the last 2 years have been is a real big push towards staff development. And yeah, you're right. I think that for me, that's the most rewarding side. Seeing staff develop their skills and progress from assistant property manager, or admin, assistant property manager, and property manager. So I think they're the most
progression within the company for us is key. as soon as there is the possibility to grow within that role, then we'll help somebody to achieve it. And I think where 49% of our staff at the moment are undergoing some form of training or qualification process, which I think is a good number. And so I would say that that's probably really rewarding, is seeing people grow. We've personally come up through the ranks in similar ways, haven't we? So it's nice to be able to pass that down to others and see them growing in the same way that we have. Because when I first started in the property industry, never in a million years would I have thought that I'd be a director in business development of a company this size. But it's because people helped me.
And give you the opportunities.
On
and
the route
that's what PS&B are trying to do.
I don't think there is such a thing.
No. Like I say, I think that's a really difficult one. If I had to write down what I did on a typical day.
I would say my typical day is having a plan and then not achieving anything in the plan would be quite typical.
Yeah. There's lots of staff management. There's lots of responded to phone calls and general emergencies that happen throughout the day. So typical day, getting up, trying to achieve the plan that you set yourself yesterday, and then just carrying on as best you can, really.
I would say what is typical is at the end of the day, you always feel like you've achieved something, even if it isn't what you set out to achieve. You will always have helped somebody resolve something.
Even if it's an emergency situation. Well, this year we've set up quite a lot of heads of service meetings, and I think that's what I'm quite most excited about now, is revamping our managers' meetings so that we can relay our strategic directions down to them so that they can motivate their staff. So for me, that's quite important.
And I think building on our away days last year.
Yes.
So in 2023 was the first year that we had department away days. We take a whole department out of the office for a day, hire a nice room in a hotel, have a nice lunch, review what's happened, what's going to happen, put some plans in place. It's just a really motivational day with everybody together. And we've planned repeat days, but with different format for this year. And that will be building on last year. So I think each year we will have these days that will just build the strength of that department year on year, and then add into that the managers' meetings that we're doing this year as well. Then I think the motivation throughout the whole business and the connection with everybody,
getting everyone cohesive.
Very good, I think it would be resilience.
I was going to say resilience.
Were you? Yeah. I'm glad I got in first then. I think it depends which department. So if you're in block management, for example, resilience is a really important trait, because mostly you're dealing with problems. So you have to go from one problem to another problem. So that does take some dealing with. It can be quite negative. So to have the resilience to turn a negative into a positive and resolve a situation is really important.
Mine is still resilience, but it's about getting up every morning and making sure the day's going to be achieved. And not being sensitive.
Yeah, I would say get up, dress up, show up.
Yep. Ooh.
Okay, so I've really already said mine, which is get up, dress up, show up, which I think is quite important. But the other one would be to treat others as you would like to be treated yourself. I think that's really important. I don't think that always happens nowadays, but I like to be treated nicely. I like to be respected, and I afford everybody else that same courtesy, which I think should be a basic, really.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think mine's very similar to that. Mine is personally is act with integrity, because the industry's full of people that don't act with integrity, and mine is to be a gentleman as much as I possibly can, and to act with integrity. Well, my favourite childhood memory would have to be when my cat called Tigger gave birth to some kittens, and she was my cat, so I used to love her to bits. So where my cat used to sit in her basket and had the babies, kittens, sorry, she brought out 4 of her kittens and brought them into my bed and laid them in my bed, and then went back and looked after the other ones, and I had to call my mum and say, "Oh, what's happening?" And so she was giving them to me to look after for her. So yes, that's
that's lovely.
it was lovely actually. And I'm always quite a sort of animal person, so I liked my dog as well.
Yeah.
So.
I used to have rabbits, and I remember our rabbits suddenly produced babies that we weren't expecting. And my sister and I ran down to see my mum, who was at work in a local restaurant, and we said, "Oh, Mum, the rabbits had loads of babies." And she stood in the middle of the restaurant and said, "Well, how did that happen?" As if a mother wouldn't know how rabbits had produced babies. But that was really cute. And my childhood memory, without a doubt, is every September we couldn't afford to go away on plush holidays, and every September we would take our little caravan down to the New Forest, a campsite called Holmesley, and we would just have a glorious week in the New Forest of not doing very much, pop into Ringwood and do a little bit of shopping and get some little presents and toys. My sister and I spent hours playing in the forest on our own, which you could do in those days.
You didn't have to spend loads of money though, do you?
No, we would just play in the trees and go for long walks, and very simple holidays, very inexpensive holidays, but absolutely the best.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's I think both of us.
We had cheap caravan holidays, and they were the best. Really, you can go to Florida, but actually, those little holidays you do remember. Yeah. So.
I'm not knocking the lovely holidays.
No. I do like Florida.
Yes. But it's really lovely. We're so lucky to be able to look back, aren't we?
Yeah.
And just have that lovely warm fuzzy feeling about things that happened when we were young. Long time ago. I can just about remember it. But... motor racing, horse riding, walking in the woods, being outdoors and active.
Yes.
Generally.
Yeah. Well, I've got 2 dogs, so I like taking the dogs out for a walk every weekend. So that's my downtime.
Twice a week.
Twice a week. That's it.
Okay.
I don't have time in the evenings like you.
Got the RSPCA on speed dial here.
No, but it's being able to take them out, go for nice long walks in the countryside. And come the summer, it'd be nicer still.
And there's after a challenging week, there's nothing nicer than a bit of countryside and the animals that you love with you.
Yep.
It really can decompress you, can't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, really special.
Well, if I say, then everyone will know.
Secretly, you're a really nice person.
Yeah, that's one of them. I'm severely dyslexic, so I don't know whether people know that one, but I cover it up with your mechanisms to disguise it. Well, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just I'm dyslexic.
And you're working in an industry where you have to send lots of emails, you have to respond to lots of letters.
Yeah.
So actually, day to day, quite challenging.
Yeah. So when going right back to the beginning is when I was 16. That's why I went straight onto construction, because that's what you was told your level of intelligence was, to go out on a construction site. So that's what I did. But then you realise actually you can do other things.
that's pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, isn't it,
Yeah.
and getting on with it. Mine would probably be that I ride a motorbike. I've got a big bike license, which most people, when I mention that, don't believe me. And this makes me sound really old, but in the 90s and 2000s, I was the only female super stock quarter mile oval racing driver in the South and was reasonably successful. Yeah, so again, that's something that is surprising, I think, to most. So quite a nice conversation piece.
I want mine edited to be her one. Take mine
Michael
away.
wants to be as exciting.
Yeah, I want to be exciting. Yeah, yeah. People might not know about that. I'm not very exciting.
Mine wouldn't be a particular a historical figure that anybody would know, but I'm really interested in the westward expansion of the United States. Mine, I would love to meet somebody that travelled on the Oregon Trail from Missouri west, because that was such a hard adventure for them. But I love the idea of not knowing where you're going. Every mountain you go over, there's something different. Every bend you go around, there's something different. And heading for a better life, which was essentially why they did it. I know it was a really hard thing for them to do. Lots of people died en route, sadly. The Native Americans suffered greatly because of all these people that were sort of trampling all over their sacred grounds. But I just find the whole thing so interesting. So to hear firsthand from somebody what it was like would be just so interesting for me. And some of the people that did that journey wrote journals, and although it was a really hard journey, they often said that they would do it all over again if they had the opportunity, because although it was hard, it was the adventure, it was the camaraderie of all these people all together trying to achieve the same thing and having to work together to cross raging rivers or winch their wagons up or down steep inclines. So that just the teamwork and just the end goal in sight. Yeah, I think that would be, I would just love to hear it firsthand instead of reading books, which is fine, but to hear their own stories, I think would be amazing.
Yeah, mine would be Socrates. So if it wasn't someone like Karen's people, because I think that's a good answer, mine would have to be grandparents, really, just to have a chat with those, because I didn't see them. Yeah, so grandparents.
Oh, how shallow am I?